fans, this is Friday Night Varsity Preview for Week 6. I'm Rachel George, joined by sports editor Dan Spears. We've got plenty of great stuff to look ahead to, but first we're going to take a little bit of a look back at Week 5. We had a couple games that got rained out and played Monday, so we have some highlights for you. Lumberton was at Laney. Unfortunately, the Bucks fall in that one 34-7. That puts them at 0-6. Really, they just couldn't stop Randy Chavis, as you'll see for Lumberton. Also had difficulty on offense like they have this year. Some adjustments still being made. Having a hard time completing passes. A lot of them were dropped. Quarterback Mike Sheehan, 9 for 24. So, like I said, Laney falls to 0-6, and certainly glad that this is their bye week heading into conference play.
They need a break badly, and I think this can only help Greg Dietz and them get refocused. But Mid-Eastern comes up fresh slate for them.
That's right. Also played Monday, got rained out with South Brunswick at West Brunswick. Not as many fans as we would have hoped, but, when you move the game. A lot of mistakes early in that one. A lot of mistakes in general. South Brunswick had 9 illegal procedure calls, had a fumble, averaged about 17 yards punting, so they really had a difficult night. West was up 14-0 at the half and then scored 3 third-quarter touchdowns. Not their best offensive night, but their defense kept them in it. West looks to be in good shape, goes to 4-1, 1-0 in the conference. The team has kind of surprised us a little bit and done better than we expected.
They have. They kept it under control. We've said in the past that they found a way to self-destruct, and they haven't done that yet this year. That's good for them. Coach Jimmy Fletcher's got things figured out a little bit, and his big players are making the big plays, and that's what he needed this year.
That's right. A guy like Alfie Hill going to Alabama and getting a 55-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, that will definitely help your case.
That never hurts.
Well, certainly West, at the beginning of the season, Dan and I ranked our top 3 teams going in who we thought would do best. Mine were East Bladen, South Brunswick, and South Columbus, and yours were
New Hanover, South Brunswick, and South Columbus. Yeah.
Well, we have some revisions
yes.
to make to that
We're
list.
We're changing the list
at this point in the year, and we will gladly admit where we were wrong. So I guess, West Brunswick, one of the teams in consideration. I know we had a tough time. Wallace playing great.
Yeah.
Pender still 4-0, but kind of waiting to see on them. Who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, like you said, this was a really tough choice. I'm sticking with I'm keeping South Columbus in the top 3.
Okay.
I know that's a little bit of a surprise despite 2 losses. Anybody in this area is going to lose to Lake City. They're the best team anybody around here has probably seen this year. But I think they're starting to figure it out. They've got a decent schedule to start the Waccamaw. They can kind of roll into it. I think everybody's starting to get more comfortable with Coach Fonville running the offense. I expect them to still win the league in a really competitive battle. Them, East Bladen, East Brunswick, even Whiteville in there right now. But I think they're still going to come out on top in that league.
Yeah, definitely still playing well. I think everyone adjusting and getting used to things under first-year coach Jake Fonville. At 3, I have your old number 3. New Hanover, the Wildcats go into the bye week before Mid-Eastern play 4-2. Their losses are to Southeast Raleigh and Richmond County. Richmond, who is ranked in the defending state champion, and Southeast Raleigh, who I keep ranking, but other poll voters don't agree. Some positive things for the Wildcats. Beat Jacksonville Northside 3-0. That's been a perennial 2A power, and that's a game that New Hanover past would have lost. I'm still not sold that they won't revert to their old ways and lose focus, lose discipline, take stupid penalties, things like that. I think the big test for them will be next week at New Bern in the conference opener. For my money, that's the only team that's going to challenge them for a title, I think, this season for the Mid-Eastern title. So if they can win that game, they'll put themselves in some pretty good position to possibly win that conference for the first time in a long time.
Agreed, yes.
And over at number 2.
Number 2, East Duplin. They have defensively turned it up on everybody they've played this year. Even the one game of theirs that was close against Wallace, they still forced 3 or 4 turnovers in that game and won a shootout like 45-40 or something like that. And they've got a couple of guys that can run the ball, they can pass the ball, and they have the best name in the area, Smoke Matthews. I mean, how do you go wrong with this setup?
Well, that's certainly a good point. They'll be on my list, but at number 2, I have East Bladen. The Eagles are 5-0, coming off last year playing for the 1AA state championship. And the thing that's impressive is that they're winning with sophomores. Darren Burney at quarterback, AJ McCoy at running back. They've got a lot of skill position players. Pretty much all their skill position players are young guys, and they're finding a way to win. They're averaging 39.8 points per game, only giving up 9.8, which is pretty good. I will say they haven't probably been tested. I think they're 5-20. Their opponents are 5-22.
Yeah.
So this game this week against Whiteville at home, the Wolfpack 4-1 will be the toughest game they've had so far. I think East Bladen can still come out with a win, but obviously off to a great start.
Oh yeah, and you were high on them to begin with, and
yes.
rightfully so. And I think that's kind of why I held back a little on them, because their schedule has been so soft, which is not what you're used to seeing with East Bladen. I mean, even James Keenan has struggled a little bit, and that was their one big game that they wanted to test themselves with. So, like you said, they play Whiteville this week, which is really surprised, beating a good 4A team at Lumberton, and went to Lumberton at once. So I think this will be, after this week, I think people will really see what East Bladen's got.
That's right. And number 1.
I'm going with Hanover again. They were my underdog at the beginning, and they have done nothing to show me that they didn't deserve it. They played, even their losses, they played well. They hung in against state-ranked teams. Their injuries have been minimal, which we said that they had to stop. They're starting to get guys back. They've done everything that they've wanted to do and a little bit more. And like Coach Motzinger said after the Northside win, he said, we wouldn't have won this game last year. We wouldn't have won this game 2 years ago. We won this game now. He's like, I like what we've got going forward, and I do too.
Right, and I will say the thing that impresses me about New Hanover is the defense. They're really solid on defense, not giving up a lot of points. I think 20 to Southeast Raleigh, 18 to Richmond has been the most. They have guys who can just shut you down. They're physically strong. They can keep that unit healthy and let the offense kind of come along a little bit more. They'll be in pretty good shape come playoff time. They've
always had the good players, but I think this one, I have, everybody that goes out and sees them says they're playing as a group now. The big guys are buying into the concept, and I think that's a testament to the players and to the coaches for saying, listen, it hadn't worked this way in the past. Try it this way, and everybody's buying it right now.
Yep. Well, at number 1, I have the Panthers, East Duplin, 5-0, and you mentioned the defense doing so well, and the only close game they've had is Wallace, which was 41-34. But you want to talk about defense? The offense has been putting up points in scads. The first game scored 70, the second game scored 68 against, albeit not so great opponents, but averaging 50 points a game.
And a lot of those points are coming in the first half of the games when they call in and give us their box scores on Friday night. They're scoring 42 points and a half. They're just running them over from the get-go right now.
Yeah. So definitely, they've got a little experience. The East Central doesn't look to be as tough as it has been in the past this year, especially with Northside being a little bit down. So that's definitely, their conference to try to win. We'll see. I guess we'll come back in another 5 weeks and tell you how smart or not smart we were.
Well, let's hope we're smarter this time.
Yes, I hope so, although I don't know. We'll see. Well, let's take a look at the other games on the schedule for this week. As we mentioned, Whiteville is at East Bladen. East Duplin takes that perfect record on the road to Northside. It'll be probably the toughest game they've had yet. Wake Christian is at Harrell's. Topsail goes on the road to face winless Clinton.
Yeah, winless Clinton, which doesn't sound right in any universe I've ever been in. That'll be an interesting game for Topsail. If they can win this one, that could shove them into the top half of that conference, which would be a big surprise and a good effort for Brian Davis and his team.
Jacksonville is at South Central. A pretty good tri-county game that we're keeping an eye on. Pender at James Keenan. Rose is the only Mid-Eastern team not off. The Rampants will be at Rocky Mount. West Brunswick, another county rivalry game this week, goes to North Brunswick. South Brunswick returns home, where the Cougars will play West Bladen. South Columbus is home against West Columbus in a non-conference game.
That'll be an interesting game, I think. West Columbus has really overshot its expectations. They beat West Bladen and came back from a big deficit to beat West Bladen. They're considering the turmoil that they had to go through at the start of the season. They've already got 3 wins. That's a big improvement for them.
Yep. Trask is on the road at Union. I think we've all been a little surprised by Trask, how well they've been doing 1-3 of the past 4. Walsers Hill is home against Hopton, another team that's been doing pretty well this season.
Yeah, this will be a good look for Wallace here. I think if they can handle them, it'll really turn that Tri-County Conference into a 3-team shootout at that point.
That's right. And rounding out the schedule, West Carteret is at White Oak. Well, that's it for us this week. Be sure to check back on Saturday morning as we have all the highlights from Friday night's game. But for Dan Spears and myself, Rachel George, this has been Friday Night Varsity Preview on StarNewsOnline.com.